Zavala has left Targe alone, and now it is up to us to reach him in order to prevent any disaster situations from occurring.
There's a storm gathering. You can feel it in the air. The closer we get to the monolith, the more powerful the witness's influence becomes.
It's interfering with my ability to track the commander. He won't respond when I hail him. The look in his eyes when he turned away from me. I don't know what he plans to do. He won't let anything stop him.
Copy that. We'll need to move fast. Cade? Saw you stand up to the commander back there, kid. That took guts. Let's go.
Ikora's not coming?
No, just you and me.
You can't blame her.
Targe, what did Zavala say when he left?
I'm going for a walk. Look after them.
Guardian, you join up with Targe, Cade and I will bring up the rear. Take down anything that's standing between Zavala and his ghost.
For a little bit of analysis, it is interesting to note that, first of all, Crow did stand up to Commander Zavala, and Cade compliments Crow, saying that took guts. So that's showing the development between, Cade's and Crow's relationship and how it's evolved, especially since, considering the Crow's past life of being Aldrin. Targe's lines of what Commander Zavala said before he left also seem pretty in line with his character, as it's implicit what he's trying to do, but what he's trying to do is, fairly obvious. We are continuing straight out of the giant skull, which is where the strike took place. It's definitely one advantage to this linear structure is everything feels completely connected. So every mission flows from one to another, and there's no real confusion on what is happening, where I am, and what our goal is, The monolith being where we're trying to head is very, very good for keeping ourselves grounded in a location. All right.
If you'll humor me. The statue that implored Zavala to give himself to darkness. There are more of them, all over this place.
You think you can get them to talk?
They'll speak up if they have something to say. That's what I do. Come on, let's establish a rapport.
Targe is actually having us test out Zavala's idea. Since Zavala wants to talk to the statues, it should do us some benefit to try to talk to these statues as well, because, if they talk to Zavala, they should almost certainly talk to us. So here we are going to test out the theory on one of these statues that litter the place.
Where is he? We know he came this way.
Your commander seeks our witness. But without you, he will become one amongst many.
What the hell does that mean? Did you do something to him?
Those who have not yet been called from the collective will guide him. We who have been bound will lead you. You must break through.
So is that an offer to help? Hello? Pointing to our doom. Let's go.
So it is interesting that, first of all, Targe is able to talk to the statue. And second of all, it's incredible that the statue responded. Surely the statue responding has to do with it being within the Traveler, right? It's not that we just never tried to talk to the statue in the first place, right? Surely the blending of light and darkness is what is allowing us to communicate with these statues in the first place, because past communions have been incredibly, incredibly vague compared to getting a direct response that is understandable by us. Yeah, it's pretty wild that the statue just straight up talks to us. I do wish we got a little bit more of an explanation on why this is the case. But, it being inside the Traveler is the only good reason I can think of. All right, make my way to the first campaign banner.
It's building, growing stronger. Good. If the witness doesn't want us to come this way, it means we're on the right track.
So we can see the dust brewing from a growing storm, indicative of danger. And speaking of danger, some ogres, 3 of them, are just right around the corner. Managed to freeze the first one. A couple of thralls are annoying me from the side. Gonna keep on shattering and reshattering them. Keep on grow the stacks. Take out these thralls. Luckily, a turret is pretty good at dealing with the ogres, keeping them backed off. I don't know why I didn't get in cover. We can get rid of this tainted ogre real quick. No problem. Now there's just 2. I said tainted, I meant blistered. Get wrecked. So not too much HP, and I die. I say not too much HP, which is true for me, because out of the corner of my eye, one of the cursed thralls actually approached. They might have actually spawned in behind me, because there is nothing from the left at all. So I didn't hear them, but some cursed thralls actually got behind me and exploded behind me. Because that's the only way, right? Yeah. Unfortunate, but that's how it goes. Second time around. Should fare better since I'm more aware of the ogres, you know. It wasn't even the ogres that killed me, but they might kill me this time around. Yeah. Wow. I don't know what I was doing. I was just fucking not shooting. All right. Third time is the charm for sure. Do not troll. Throw like a nade early. Throw a turret early. I'm getting close up. Probably too close up, but it doesn't really matter. Throw a couple cold snaps. Do not get out of cover, buddy. Throw another nade there. Get rid of the ogre in front of me first. There we go. And now I'm just running into them, but my edge transit is pretty crazy. Get into cover pretty immediately, but of course I blow myself up on the branches. That is rather unfortunate. Get the edge transit out of my hand. I cannot be trusted. That was a little risky, but it was pretty good. And if those branches had not been there, that would have been even better, because then the ogres would have died. And apparently I died to just a thrall hitting me. Wow. Just running it down, you know, not even trying really, just, you know, just going to force this encounter. I could play with a little bit more thought, but, you know, just going to brute force it. Throw a nade from afar. That's probably the winning strategy, to be honest. I don't know why you keep on getting up close when there's no reason to do so. Just stay in cover and deal with them one by one. Just edge transit that one off. Pick out some heavy ammo. Do a little bit shatter damage. Get rid of the thrall. Watch out for the cursed thralls. Yes, a couple did actually spawn in behind me. Thanks for trolling me. Love you, game designers. Very cool. Very cool. Finish that one off just so I don't get exploded in my face. This ogre is blasting, you know, nothing, but I can go ahead and finish it off. While I died a bunch there, honestly, that might have been one of the sections I died in the most. It was not difficult at all. It was just trolling. I really shouldn't have, you know, gone past the encounter when I died from the branches, but what are you going to do? Yeah, not difficult at all, to be honest. So, you know, if you stay further back, you know, you don't have to deal with the ogres immediately and you can just deal with the thralls. And, you know, if I really cared, I would have not run it down, but it doesn't matter because, you know, it's fairly straightforward.
Just as Zavala believed. I hope he feels vindicated.
The statue said that Zavala will become one among its many. Was that a threat or a warning?
We'll need to find another.
Ghost ponders on the statue's words. Is that a threat or a warning? It definitely seems like a warning to me, especially since they answered. The way forward is through the storm, and that manifests in a debuff, Howling Plague of the Witness, very annoying. And there are some scorn within this temple. All right, our light is still restricted in this encounter while we have to deal with a stasis subjugator. Tempest Beloved is the title given to them. I'm almost dying here because of a husk rushing up from me, but luckily I managed to play it pretty safe and drop my well and not kill myself with my edge transit, which is probably the most difficult task in the game for me currently at this point. The husks in this environment are really, really annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you know, through the closed off corners, the lack of room to maneuver, the subjugator being a stasis one in order to slow you down and lock off areas. Yeah, they all combine to make this rather troublesome. I'm not gonna lie, Devour is probably, I mean, Devour has been hard carrying me, you know, throughout everything, but for that fight, I definitely feel like against the Husk, Devour was pretty nice. But yeah, get rid of the subjugator. We can go ahead and summon Targe to interrogate the second statue.
Want to help us find Zavala? Fine, but it's your fault we're in this mess. Why did you reach out to him in the first place?
Our voices are many, but our voices are weak. It's too bright here. Give yourself to darkness. In darkness, our voices will be heard.
Do you think we can trust them?
All right, we need to be in darkness for the statues to give us any real hint or message. But, you know, now we have to ponder if we trust them. And honestly, it doesn't matter if we trust them or not. They were a lead, and I think we just need to follow the lead no matter what.
You came.
Of course I came. It's my fire team.
And a fire team's a family. No sign of Zavala yet.
But he was right about the statues. They're trying to help us.
All right, Kate and Ikora, go ahead and join us because, you know, they're part of the fire team. Can't leave Zavala behind. I wouldn't be surprised if Zavala knew this would be the case. Zavala is a bit vindicated, though, as the statues do seem to be trying to help us. At least Targe believes that they are trying to help us. Whether or not that is completely accurate is still yet to be determined. All right, go ahead and let me restart that sentence. Wow, terrible way to start that sentence off. But it doesn't really matter as I'm getting rid of these ads. This temple we entered after the little storm section is not too complex in terms of enemy encounter, but it is cool to fight a bunch of raiders from a different height. You know, it is keeping the same like tone and feeling of the map while changing up the encounter and how we have to approach the fight in a pretty simple way. You know, just changing the enemy positions, you know, having them on different levels requires us to encounter or requires us to face the encounter in a different way. And unfortunately, there was no like real boss to the section, so getting to the statue was rather simple.
I've had enough of this. Commander, come in. Commander, answer your comms now. This is the last time I let him walk away from me.
Right, Targe tries to contact the commander, but he is unsuccessful and says that this is the last time he will walk away from the commander. I'm surprised he walked away from the commander in the first place, but sure.
The last statue said they can only speak to us in darkness. That makes me think they still have some connection to the witness.
Something that's made up of 1 million individuals is bound to have a few dissenting voices.
We are the shame our witness could not bear to reckon with. So the first knife cut us out.
Exile until we are deemed worthy. Imprisoned until we can be reintegrated into the final shape.
All right, Targe's guess is pretty much confirmed, at least to us and our canon and belief, as we now consider these veiled statues as dissenters of the witness. So pretty interesting that is the explanation that they've gone ahead with for these veiled statues. And honestly, it makes sense. You know, if the witness is made up of a bunch of entities, it does make sense that, you know, not all those entities believe in the witness's goal, or at least if they do believe in the goal, they might not believe in the methods or means, because the means don't justify the ends. So pretty good connection that they're tying up here with these veiled statues. Moving on to what the dissenters say. So they admit that they are the shame of the witness and, you know, the witness, because they opposed the majority opinion, went ahead and cut him out. They actually refer to either the witness or the action of this event as the first knife. The subtitle doesn't have the first knife like capitalized, which is interesting because to me, it seems like it would be a proper noun, but I don't know if this is just a mistake in the subtitle or if it's not actually referring to something that would be a proper noun and is instead literally referring to like a first knife out of a series of knives. But I feel like maybe in that case, you would still make it proper noun. So it is just interesting that the term the first knife is being introduced, and the metaphor that is being described is a knife, you know, carving out these statues. The second voice of the dissenter like confirms that they are indeed exiled and talks about how their purpose is only to exist until the final shape comes about, where they will just become a part of the witness's goal. So, you know, just doesn't matter that they dissented because, you know, they will probably not exist. All right, pushing further into the storm. How's this fighting against some Screeb? Pretty annoying, pretty annoying. All right, after getting rid of a lacerated abomination, we can go ahead and continue further into the third temple. All right, go ahead and clear the area, and we can go ahead and summon Targe in order to talk to the third statue.
You were once part of the witness. Can you just tell us how to defeat it?
We are bound. There is no other way. Give yourself to darkness. Give yourself to darkness and see.
Your commander needs the light. You will set us free.
You will set us all free.
Why would the witness imprison its own like this?
The witness seeks to control what it can't change, and to change what it can't control. That's the purpose of the final shape.
It's afraid.
You couldn't have stopped him, Targe.
True. Zavala can't be stopped by much. But he is my commander. I watch out for him. I raise him when he falls. When a Guardians run amok, look what happens. They seek an audience with something that punched a hole in the Traveler.
All right, the statue doesn't tell us too much, but it does confirm that we really, really have to be a part of, you know, the darkness, or at least merge with the darkness. And I'm not exactly sure what it means by giving ourselves to the darkness. Like, technically, you know, we wield stasis and strand. We've technically given ourselves to the darkness. We should, I mean, so I'm not exactly too sure what the statues mean by giving ourselves to the darkness. So I wish that's where Targe focuses questions, because just because you were part of Witness doesn't mean you would know how to defeat it. Like, that's a stupid question. Like, that's incredibly dumb. Let me handle the questions instead, please. It was also interesting that, you know, the Dissenter refers to the ghost as a little light, and light, you know, being capital, and says specifically that the ghost will set us free. He will set us all free. We know, like, the Witness can do wacky stuff with ghosts, as we've seen multiple times, especially in Lightfall, where they took control of our ghosts, like, on like 3 occasions. Maybe it was 2 occasions. I'll just say 3 because it sounds fancier, but on multiple occasions, the Witness took control of our ghost, and that might be what would be happening here. Or maybe instead of the Witness is taking control of the ghost, like one of the statues takes control of the ghost. But it is interesting to take note of the statue just saying that the ghost is a little light and will set us all free. Crow asks a stupid question. Why would the Witness imprison its own like this? Like, come on. Ikor gives the answer, but like, really, Crow? Come on, you can't figure that out. Targe then reads this emotion as being afraid. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily automatically go with afraid, but since fear is kind of part of the thematic leanings of the final shape, it probably makes sense to not like waste too much time in like having us guess at what the emotions are. So the Witness just being afraid of voices dissenting against it, and it, you know, just being afraid that people do not have the same opinion as it, is a fine line of thought to go down. Targe is quite direct in his words. Instead of saying carved or using a more delicate metaphor like knife to do with knives, or, you know, along the lines of that, Targe just straight up says that, you know, the Witness punched a hole in the Traveler, which is a lot more brutal and brutish and straightforward of an act, compared to using a knife to like carve a wound and incision into the Traveler, which is what it's kind of been referred to as instead. So just interesting, you know, word choice, which, you know, probably can be used to characterize, you know, Targe and Zavala overall, and, you know, their attitude when it comes to approaching situations. All right, this combat section is pretty easy because, you know, you can just do most of the work from far away. Go ahead and talk to the 4th statue.
Just tell us how to free you.
We're not strong enough to aid you. Your journey is close to an end. But we are not strong enough. We're not strong enough.
I don't think any of us are strong enough to do this alone.
Unfortunately, Zavala forgot that when he left without me. But that's why I'm here, to remind him.
So weirdly enough, the statue just says that they are not strong enough to defeat him. You know, it's super vague, but that only leads us to place down our campaign banner. And we go ahead and see 3 acolytes doing some sort of ritual. In the background, there is some glyphs. They are quite recognizable. I think they might be the same ones on like the Witness. Pretty interesting. I have no idea what they mean, but there's some other interesting symbols on the walls. No idea what they mean either, but they look cool, and it definitely, you know, ties the whole aesthetic together. All right, here I'm just, you know, running around to each room. These curse thralls, super annoying, but, you know, I'm getting the lay of the land, figuring out what I need to do. My goal right now is to defeat each of the wizards I saw, so that requires me to clear out each of the rooms and sections, and I ended up getting bitch slapped by a Revenant Knight. Wow. I think this is the first time I died since the ogres, so it's been a while trying to just bum rush these wizards, but, you know, I don't think that's how it works, buddy. All right, in this room, the Acolyte is just moving really fast, but taking out these knights is not a problem with my Bleak Watcher up. Edge Transit is not actually doing, you know, too much, but that's because I'm not activating bait and switch because I'm not very smart. Let's go ahead and play this game properly, buddy. Okay, instead of reloading my heavy weapon, I'm like, no, let me try to primary damage with my Vergloth. Sure. At least my wayframe was good enough. I don't know what I was doing there. I think I was looking, and right there when I opened my inventory, I was trying to look for infusion material. Amazing. All right, setting up the Bleak Watcher is always a strategy. Gonna go ahead and keep it constantly frozen because, you know, When it's frozen, I do more damage and I take less damage. This stupid little darkness bubble really trolling me, and gonna go and just go prismatic. Like, have I really still not reloaded my edge transit? What are we doing here? It goes down pretty quick after that. Waste of transcendence, but you know, was it really a waste if I did some? Well, I mean, obviously it's not a complete waste, you know, then we'd be judging, you know, waste on a scale, because, you know, that's how you judge everything on a spectrum. But it doesn't really matter, because, you know, I can get prismatic pretty quickly, and I still have my super, so, you know, probably you can use my super for the third one, but I believe after the third one there's probably gonna be a boss, so I'm probably saving it, even though, you know, the way this encounter is structured, there's 3 wizards, and after defeating each of the wizards, that's probably it. But I feel like, you know, defeating each of these wizards by themselves and clearing these rooms is a little bit too easy. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to up the difficulty by having us fight against a main boss when we return back to the center room. Just because, you know, that's just how I feel like the encounter would be designed. And I am correct, as a devoted commander spawns in, and that's a tormentor, which is rather annoying because tormentors are the enemy I have the most trouble dealing with, because I still do not know about their blast immunity and how to deal with that. You know, my loadout is also not ever equipped to deal with tormentors, which makes them annoying when they spawn in without my knowledge. Here we are using my super. That's pretty good. Trying to avoid the suppression as much as possible, because that's gonna, you know, negate my super. Honestly, not the most effective super. I do feel like I was pretty ineffective setting up a Bleak Watcher there a lot, trying to make it stay inside my nades as much as possible. Transcendence is pretty good here. Get a lot of activations. Like, that's a considerable amount. Not the craziest amount of damage. The only real damage I'm going to be able to do to it is whenever I shatter it with my nade. I don't know why I was wasting time fighting that one Grim off when I can just go ahead and finish off this Tormentor. And I'm just not finishing. There we go. Finish off the Tormentor. It was interesting that they didn't make it an imprint. You know, they really should have just made it imprint instead of a regular Tormentor that I can finish off. But you know what? No problem. That's the encounter over with. Only died the first time around for no reason, to be honest.
A surge of energy that I can't pinpoint Zavala's location.
It's probably more interference.
A surge of energy that I can't pinpoint Zavala's location.
It's probably more interference. Just concentrate on him.
I can't.
You can. Just feel for his light.
I can't.
All right, Targe getting a little angry there as a little animation exposes the route we're taking downwards.
You can't find Zavala. We're past the storm, but something could still be throwing off the signal. Even if that isn't the case, you don't have to know your guardian by his light.
And how would you feel? Were you in my shell? You scoured the earth for years, hunting and vague feeling, growing lonely, losing faith, but eventually, miraculously, finding your mark. And you spend years more by his side, watching him fight and die, fall in love, lose himself to grief. You forge a bond, seal your fates. And yet you're not sure if you can do the only thing you were made to do for the one person you were meant for? How would you feel?
Well, I...
Forget it. The feeling doesn't matter. You take the closer source. I'll check the one ahead. I know what to do.
We got your back, buddy.
Ghost, Guardian, keep looking. We'll catch up with Targe.
Targe asks some rhetorical questions that, you know, expose how he's feeling about the situation, you know, and explores the bond between Ghost and Guardian even more, you know. I'm sure Ghost would feel incredibly bad in that situation, as would we probably in turn for our Ghost. It's going to waste some time looking at the prismatic menu. Wow, crazy. Continuing forward, you know, some more excellent light work. Very cool. Like, there's so much differences in each location. Like, we were literally fighting the storm through some temples, and now we're here in this wild, upside down, underground city in the cosmos. Like, the switch up is insane. Like, crazy. Like, wild. Just insert more adjectives here. Anyways, a nice little platforming section. I haven't really mentioned the music, whatever, or the sounds, but the ambiance here is especially excellent. I really like the little synth pulses. The modeling and the structural work here is definitely, you know, a standout, because whenever we're dealing with Blackfleet architecture, it's always very nice to look at, since it's such a stark contrast to most of the rest of Destiny's architecture and stylings. Some enemies to slow us down, nothing too troublesome though, you know, just a little nice breaking up the jumping, not really a puzzle, but you know, breaking up the jumping sections. Looking at a dead grammar shotgun, probably dismantle that, to be honest. You know, it's interesting to think about what this structure means and why it exists. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Those are the questions. And those are questions that, you know, I have not even the slightest. Well, I mean, I can start, you know, guessing. It's like, obviously it probably has to do with the witnesses culture and before they became the witness. Because, you know, I don't think the witness was like, let me make all this stuff for myself. But who knows? They are super powerful. These knights are just trolling me. Like, all right, let's get them out of the way. Wow, I died to the jump. I didn't die to knight. I died to the jump. Of course. You know, paying attention to the gaps. The nice, the collision boxes do make it so I can just walk across those gaps. Probably the case for many of them. But, you know, doesn't really matter in this case because that's like it's probably only like us. I'm like, when would it even matter to have that knowledge that you can walk through tiny gaps from like not many places, because there's not many places that such a thing would even exist. Just filling up the time. A fucking prismatic loser is wasting our time as well. Luckily, there is a rift to get prismatic. Mighty convenient for the campaign to do that for us. Honestly, I really wish they didn't. It might make as long as they made it so the prismatic shielded enemies were only in like proper encounter sections where our light was restricted after a campaign banner, and they weren't like randomly here in the middle of a passageway for no reason to slow us down for no reason, then I definitely think that they should not give us prismatic wells, because they only really exist to make the mechanic that much easier. Like, just restore them with the campaign banner if you're so inclined. Like, I don't know if there was like a compelling reason for Light and Darkness to not be restored with the campaign banner. Like, maybe like if you want to go on a pure lore story wise reasoning, but like gameplay wise, it makes absolutely no sense for us to not get it back. If we're not counting the reason being that they give us prismatic walls specifically in order to compensate for such a thing, which honestly might even make it that, you know, it's like a coding thing. They can't make campaign banners give you enough light and darkness energy because of the way it's coded, which would be really silly. And honestly, that's my schizo headcanon for why that's the case.
Is coming from another one of the traveler's gifts. But Zavala's not here. Vanguard, have you found him?
Not yet.
We're still unable to find Zavala, but we do have to place down a campaign banner, and that includes us now having to fight against the Pillar of Devotion, who is just straight up summoning lightning bolts down. Wow. So, mechanic, hunt down 2 subjugators, which is rather wild, you know, for a side enemy being the subjugator. These husks make this especially annoying of a task. Wow, and I died instantly. I just get one tapped. So I think I do have to damage myself with my edge transit, and then I literally take... Okay, so either the animation is slightly off, and I actually did get hit by the subjugator by this melee, which I don't think is the case because I only take damage after the edge transit shot. So I did have to damage myself, and the subjugator just did one shot to me. It is crazy that the subjugator's melee is that powerful, though. Rather annoying, but that is death 1. Hopefully I'm not going to die too many more times. All right, I'm taking this high ground for no good reason. I mean, I guess the lightning can't hit me there. Just kidding. I'm a liar. Well, I'm not a liar because, you know, I completely forgot that happened. But if I did remember that happened, then I would have been a liar. But if we want to, you know, define liar as in me forgetting by including me forgetting by accident. So like lie of admission, but like it's not exactly a lie because I forgot, which is what we're debating in the first place. Yeah, I'm just filling up airtime because even though the subjugator is kind of annoying, you know, they are way easier to deal with compared to tormentors because I can actually use my edge transit against them properly. The stasis one is super annoying here as it's freezing me down, and I almost died just because of the crystals. Like, man, you know, initially the strand one seems more annoying, but the stasis one consistently has, you know, multiple annoying features, right? Like the strand guy has the annoying strand attack, but stasis, we have the crystals, we have the slow effect, we have the pools. Like, man, gotta calm down. So we are granted Aegis buff. Yep. And our guardians like grab the shield, which probably means we are going to go ahead and use it to break the shield on the Pillar of Devotion. The Traveler helping us out. Really appreciate that. I have Song of Flame, so DPS on Pillar of Devotion is pretty easy for that first time around. Prismatic Wells also, you know, pretty nice, pretty useful. Make it easier for me to deal with the Subjugators the second time around. I also definitely needed Prismatic in order to break the shield. All right, first Subjugator down, pretty easy. The Grim this time around, making it a little bit more annoying by suppressing me. Gonna have to do a little bit of running around to the far back in order to avoid the lightning strikes from the main dude in the middle, while also getting rid of the Subjugators, you know? Just doing a little bit of dancing back and forth. The melee, being in melee range is pretty much the only way I'm ever gonna die to a Subjugator. So, you know, just have to remember to not get in melee range. You know, except when I finish them off, of course. But that is actually the first Subjugator down. I lied when I said that the other Subjugator was down. That was actually me trolling you and making sure you were paying attention to the screen. All right, second Subjugator down, which is technically the first Subjugator, but we've gone ahead and been granted Aegis the second time around. So gonna go ahead and just grab the shield and use my super. I have to be a little bit careful because there is a bunch of enemies on the ground, and I get returned to orbit in the middle of the fight. Wow, search for error code guitar. Wow, really? In the middle of the fight, get sent back. You know, checkpoints did activate. I do see the checkpoint sign, so I'm probably gonna be sent back to the final boss fight. But you know, I was about to finish the fight, and now here we are having to complete it again. You know, I was almost certainly like 30 seconds away because I was granted Aegis and I've destroyed the shield. So I just had to do DPS, but now I have to do the encounter all over again. You know, I have done this 3 times technically. Well, first time barely counts, so technically this is my second time proper, but I do have the experience of what I need to do. And besides the accidental death the first time around, the second time I managed to not die. And this third time, I'm also completely managed to avoid death. That final shape motif, really, really excellent when it's shining out here in the middle of combat, while I am trying not to die, you know? And just playing it a little bit safe, getting the high ground. Because it's not the boss that's gonna kill me, it's the little dudes. Pretty good fight, honestly, all things considered. So we have to continue forward as the place behind us falls apart. I find this prismatic reward, which is not along the beaten. Well, it is along the beaten path. It's not along the main road, which is interesting. Probably indicative of more chests that I will have to find later at some point. And by later, I mean even still now, 4 months later. When I'm recording this, I've not gotten all of them. So Targe has actually finally gone ahead and found the commander as we escape this location. Nice. The multicolored bricks are interesting. Maybe referential to the yellow brick road, but you know, the witness versionified. As we go ahead and lock in on Commander Zavala and the statue.
Zavala, please. Don't do this.
Commander, you've come to us for access. We too once looked to the silent god for Rabbit. But all they could offer was more life, void of meaning. No. Lies. We ran from it. So we sought its odyssey. And in it, found means to bring order to an unruly universe. Your traveler had no tolerance for such vision. have no tolerance for its ambivalence. We would force purpose from it, driven by a single, immutable will. So we called our doubts fear. Anything that separates us could cloud our intent. Let's become one in darkness. What was made can be unmade.
Because when we destroyed ourselves,
Siege lost. And now, we'll have you join us. Commander,
no. I see what you are.
what do you see?
I see fear.
Targe, no!
We have been waiting for you. We are not afraid.
Yes, you are.
All right, that was a lot for a cutscene. Sheesh. You know, some of the cutscenes in the beginning were pretty intense, but they definitely slowed down after mission 1, but we've definitely picked up the pace. Wow. So starting on the beginning, so most of this was pretty self-explanatory, mainly because the witness is explaining things to Zavala. But there is still some parts we can analyze, especially because not all of this was from the witness's perspective. We can talk about what Zavala is experiencing, and more specifically, we can talk about the shard of Dissent. So starting at the very beginning of the cutscene, I actually want to take a look at the establishing shot. So initially, I called it, we were here at the final statue, but it is a little bit more complex than a final statue. It's some sort of portal, and the construction of this object is kind of wild. It's multiple veiled statues stacked upon some sort of pillar, with the very top being a hand. But it's not just a normal hand. It looks quite humanoid, but instead it is symmetrical, with there being 4 primary fingers extending from the top with 2 thumbs on the left and right side of the hand. I'm sure the symmetry of such a body feature probably means something, but besides the witness being, hand themed, I'm not too sure what the meaning is. I guess, there's like symbolism between the light and darkness, I don't know. That doesn't really work here. I'm not too sure what it means, except for, it looks cool. That's definitely seems to be one of the biggest driving factors here. Witness has hands, and hands are creepy when combined together and done in weird ways, like we've seen recently with like AI stuff. Although, I mean, these days it's getting kind of crazy. Continuing forward, we have Zavala testing out what's going to happen, when he reaches out into the darkness portal. Here we have the entire Vanguard try to stop him. We're not there, though. Unfortunately, Ikora, Crow, and Cade are, but, we're not for some reason. Like, you can't render us in the cutscene. Oh, sure, fine. Zavala walks through and gets answers from the witness. So here we have Zavala stare at some sort of civilization. I assume that this is the witness's civilization because, this is the witness's place, and everything seems to be referring to the witness, who the witness is referring to the traveler as the silent god. And specifically, the question they had in mind was purpose. So here we have an extension on, the witness's philosophy. The witness was provided more life from the traveler, but the witness wishes for a greater meaning to life, and couldn't accept that life, the meaning of life was simply, to exist, right? There is no grand, deeper meaning, just existence in itself was meaning. And here we see one of the dissenters pulling out a shard, shining a light through a mirror in Zavala's eyes. I have no idea what this means metaphorically. Like I have no idea what symbolism like a shard is. I guess if we're talking about like a greater picture or mirror or whole of an object, a shard is representative of a dissenter, and it's shining light is shining a light in the darkness or something. I don't know. Yeah, so we follow up with the witness just talking about how they found the veil, which is the counterpart to the traveler, and with the veil, they were able to find, or they were able to, you know, I say find, but they were able to force a purpose. So we actually see the traveler escape the civilization, which is kind of crazy, you know. For some reason, the traveler was completely opposed to such an ideal, but I guess, you know, the traveler did not want to be subjugated to or subjugated by the civilization, which is interesting, right? You know, the traveler provided the civilization for the means to create their own destiny. And in doing so, they realized that it might be their destiny to control their controller. So it's pretty complex for, you know, traveler to probably deal with. And they just ran away instead of, you know, destroying the civilization that they helped create. They ran from the problem. It is interesting to note that the traveler is showing is expressing some sort of feeling, right? Because if they truly did not care about anything, then they probably wouldn't have fled. So, you know, no tolerance for such a vision also indicates that the traveler wants us to make our own destiny and future, but only if it's within parameters that the traveler finds okay. So once again, we have a condition placed upon our own fate and destiny, which also ties into the themes because, you know, it is up to us to make our own destiny, but we constantly have to fight against those that wish for not the best results for us. And in trying to achieve our own destiny, we are still bound by certain rules that we have to fight within. So are we truly free? So the framing the witness goes by is that, you know, they called the doubters because if you're not believing in the vision, you are clouding the intent and obfuscating the purpose that they wish to achieve. So with the power of darkness, they wish to become one. So pretty interesting there. I'm not sure what to really read into this because I still have no idea what the fuck the veil is all about, to be honest. So while this vision is happening, which I assume is done by the witness to the traveler, some dissenters are still able to communicate with Zavala. And this one in particular is telling Zavala to meet them where they destroyed themselves. So here we have the framing of, you know, one of the doubters as this unification being a destruction of their, you know, not only being, but of their civilization as a whole. The witness chants something here, but I have no idea what he's saying. Even on multiple re-listens, it sounds like Satan Ross, which makes absolutely no sense. So the witness actually straight up comes out and extends its hand out to Commander Zavala, but Targe is able to burst into this vision somehow, you know. I mean, we don't really need the explanation. We just need to know that Targe is here by Zavala's side, and the witness grabs the ghost. And this is indicative of, you know, just the straight up size disparity and showcases that the witness is giant, massive, like much larger than, you know, what they first seem. Even though, you know, they were a giant creature in, you know, space. It's like, you know, this is just confirming that they are massive, right? Like the ghost is basically the size of like its thumb. Wild. It is also interesting to note that the witness's hand is fairly normal. You know, we have the four fingers and the thumb, and it doesn't look like the symmetrical hand that we saw previously. Targe talks back to the witness, and the witness, without even uttering a single word, crushes the ghost in its hands. And we see Zavala get dragged down into the undertow. Wow.
This changes nothing, Zavala. You're still our friend. You're still our commander.
It changes everything. I have no light, no purpose, no ghost. I know you want to blame yourself, but Targe knew what he was getting into. Don't. Please. I was prepared to pay any cost. I was. Not Targe. He was devoted. He was brave. And part of me resented him for that. Sometimes I wished he would just leave me to rot in peace.
Well, he did what ghosts are supposed to do, right? He recruited you for a war. And he chose to sacrifice himself so you could end it.
End it? How? I threw away my light for a riddle and a memory.
A memory that can save us all, of the witness becoming what it is. What was made.
Can be unmade. Right, right! Oh, we gotta link up with those defector specters again.
The place they showed me. It's here. The witness's memories became manifest too. I can guide us. But I'll need help.
We can do that.
Alrighty then. We keep our momentum and Zavala gets to focus on something that's not... You know, we ask a lot of our ghosts. And they don't get one second chance, much less a million that we do. Just wish I'd thanked my gal Sundance back when I could. But she knew I appreciate her. At least I hope.
All right, Cade really driving in the theme of the mission really hard there at the end when he tries to reference talking to Sundance, but realizes that, you know, Sundance is not there. Pretty emotional, and shows that Cade is able to relate to Zavala in this rather devastating situation, and it really shows how much, you know, Cade cares for his ghost, especially since, you know, we go on the line of talking about not showing the proper appreciation for ghosts, because, you know, it's like the old saying, you only miss what you know. I fucked that up. Wow. You know, Cade points out that it is, you know, our ghosts don't get a second chance, even though they are able to resurrect us multiple times over. It does bring into question why more enemies don't shoot our ghost, but, you know, that might be what is implied in the restricted light sections. We're just built different as the Guardian. In Zavala's case, though, we have his own words thrown back at him, as Targe is the one that ends up dying instead of Zavala, because Zavala, he says himself, he was the one that was ready to sacrifice himself, but instead he ended up losing Targe. So with this, even though the witness didn't really show him anything, it did give him his ghost, and the witness was what took it away from him. And this motivation, and by Ikora and Cade at a side together, and the purpose of taking out the witness will help distract him in this time. Yeah, pretty simple. Let's go ahead and talk to our ghost. You know, right after I take a look at the environment, you know, pretty spicy. Kind of a deserty background out there. You know, there's some cactus-looking structures. I think they're just, you know, crystals, but they kind of look like cactuses in the desert area. All right, now let's talk to Ghost.
Was the kind of ghost I thought I ought to be. There's no manual on how to do what we do, but Targe always knew the right answer. He was dedicated, dutiful, and he knew Zavala better than Zavala knows himself. I want to believe that his light has returned to the Traveler like Sundance's did. Like mine will someday. Ours is gone. Zavala is mortal, but their sacrifice can't be for nothing. We have to go to the memory of the place where the witness made itself, so we can learn how to unmake it. It's here, in the Pale Heart. I have faith in us. The Traveler has faith in us. And now, thanks to Targe, we have a chance.